Well, good evening, folks. I hope you're well. Here we are. This evening's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about something that many of you probably, with due respect, won't be aware of. And it's a delight to be able to talk to you about something of this nature, what I'm going to talk about, because it benefits everybody. So what I say to you here is an educational video with due respect in it, showing you hopefully that there is always an alternative. Many of you will know that I'm in the world of healthcare, historically involved with anaesthesia, way back in time, and obviously during that time, during anaesthesia and getting involved with that, I get to know an awful lot about the way the human body works, and physiology and anatomy and surgery and human beings as a package. So notwithstanding all that anyway, it would make sense that I had a career change. I'd had enough of dealing with the sick and wanted to make people better. And one of the motivations was to do that, of course, was I think there's a lot better ways to make people better than cutting them up with a knife and sticking them on drugs, quite frankly. And that seems to be the modus operandi, excuse the pun, of our healthcare services. We are so quick to resort to the prescription pad, as any GP will tell you, or you will witness. Any aches and pains, painkiller. You mentioned the word pains, it's automatic, painkillers. Kill the pain. I'd rather look behind the reason for the pain. Oh my God, yes, it's surgery then. It's the pill or the knife. And alternative methods of healthcare have always been shunned as it's the devil. It's get behind me, Satan. It's all, no, it's either surgery or the pills. And this is the way we've been brought up because, well, quite frankly, there's big money in pharmaceuticals. They're not really interested, quite frankly, and this is why I became delusioned about the whole world of standard healthcare and wanted out, because I find that it's full of charlatans in many ways, particularly in the private healthcare practices. Yes, some of them are honest about it. They do it for the money. That's it. Okay, at least they're honest. It's certainly not an altruistic view. This business about, first do no harm. Well, that goes out the window. Income, no ethics. It's all about income, folks. It truly is. And so I got sick of this. And I was looking for a treatment modality, shall we say that, a way of treating people that, number one, worked, number two, was natural, and it wasn't full of hocus pocus potions and lotions and herbs, and there's nothing wrong with herbs, but I wanted a practical treatment for patients, for all patients, regardless of age, and I wanted a mode of treatment that would treat my patients holistically. That means, whatever's wrong with them, there's something for everybody. Hopefully it is a treatment that is not age dependent, nothing. Doesn't matter what your predisposition is. What I'm going to discuss with you has been known about for a long time, yet it has been poo-pooed by the hackers and slackers and knifers and, the medical profession, and vilified by the pharmaceutical industry and, as I say, belittled in every way. But the reality is you can't kid a kidder anymore. You really can't. They have been exposed for the charlatans that many of them are. And to be honest with you, I think that, well, I'm always honest with you, I always think that good will prevail, ultimately. Take a look at Lord of the Rings. Eventually that ring will be thrown into the pit below where it belongs. And a lot of these surgical practices and pharmaceuticals will also be thrown into that river of fire down below, just like they do in Tolkien's stories. What I want to talk to you this evening, and I'll try and make it at least interesting, is what they call photobiomodulation. Yes, PBM for short, photobiomodulation. And what it is, it's using light at specific wavelengths, that's the important thing, to cure us. I would highlight in this early phase of this video that what I'm going to discuss in no way kills bacteria. Okay, there is insufficient evidence, quite frankly, to show that it is effective. It is an ineffective treatment to kill bacteria. So we're not going to be talking about it's an antiseptic, it's an antibiotic, because it's not. What it will do, though, is cure your body. It will repair your body in a wholly natural way. Regardless of exercise, not required. And regardless of drugs, certainly not required. It is a purely natural thing that I'm going to show you, but in a condensed form. Forgive me for telling you what you might already know, but there are new people, so I've talked about this before in previous video once, and anyway, now I've got some to show you, which is a picture tells 1,000 words, doesn't it? So, you know why I was interested in this mode? Because I'm sick and tired of the commercialism and the hypocrisy and the charlatans out there with their weird and wonderful herbs and other medicines and drugs. Not interested. What I'm going to show you is entirely natural. Well, we all, if we can see, we all have the benefit of being able to look at the sun occasionally in the sky, and it is such a sacred thing, the sun. It's so important to us, because if the sun were to go out like a light switch, switched it off, there would be no life on this earth within 3 days. That's pretty sweeping statement, but certainly life would be extinct on this planet within a week. Oh, for sure. We would become an ice ball, an ice planet. And, the Earth has been put into that state once during the Ice Age when a meteorite hit our world, the flat one, by the way, creating a dust cloud that covered up the sun. And we were deprived of the sun for a long period of time, and that deprivation of that heat and that light caused chaos on the world, and we had mammoths halfway through eating their food, were, as they say, caught in the squat. They were frozen, flash frozen, weren't they? And we dug them up, and they've been perfectly preserved with the food still in their mouth. So we can guesstimate when that event happened. I hope it doesn't happen again, not in my lunchtime anyway. But light is essential for life. Okay, let there be light, oh please. But the sunlight is scattered. And it comes in, we only see in our spectrum of view. Our eyes, our retinas, can only pick up certain wavelengths of light. Okay? And depending on the wavelength, the wavelength dictates the colour of the light that we can see. Okay? We know we can see Richard of York gave battle in vain. That's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet. Pretty much 7 colours really, and the shades of each. But Richard of York gave battle in vain. That's the way I remember it. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Known that since I was 6. Anything outside of those colours we think doesn't exist. Well, it does. Okay? Because every colour is a waveform. And depending on, how close those troughs and peaks happen, that will tell you what the frequency of the light is, because light has frequency. Electricity at the moment in 240 in the UK, 240 volts, and it is 50 times a second. It goes positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, 50 times a second. Or it's on, off, 50 times a second. We don't notice the off periods, folks, because they're so quick. And that's hertz times per second. And light, then, the colour of light is dictated to by the frequency, the number of times it goes up and down. And different colours have different frequencies. Some have very long wavelengths and some are very busy. Okay? And so it is the wavelength of the light that will dictate its colour. Always remember that. So, with that said though, there are colours that we can't see. We can't see, quite frankly, ultraviolet. It's way out there. We can't see another colour or a waveform of light energy called X-ray, can we? But we know they go straight through us. They have such fantastic penetrating depths. Okay? And we have what they call blue light, laser light. They've got this blue light as a set frequency, which does kill bacteria, but it is a specific wavelength. But the lasers I'm going to show you don't kill bacteria because they don't include blue. Okay. So that said, I hope that we've got that then. The wavelength will determine the colour. But equally, the wavelength also dictates and decides how deep the laser will penetrate. Okay? And it is the power then. We have the power of how fast and effective it is locally. So it is basically the wavelength that decides on the depth of penetration of the light in us. So when we look at the sun, and it will become clear soon, when we look at the sun, we are scattered light. It's like, yeah, we see some of it, but we know that the sun sends out some nasties to us, don't we? We get skin cancers from them. We don't see this light at all, but we know it hurts us. That's why we put sunscreen on, and we put, we can get skin cancer if we're not careful. It's nasty stuff, light, if it's just not regulated. It's not all good. But most of it is therapeutic, because without it we will die. And this is why it is good for our health, because we feel fantastic when we've been on holiday. Yeah, baby. Feel refreshed, invigorated, full of energy. Because that's what it does. Okay. But occasionally our own internal batteries start to flag and we need a holiday. We need to get out in the light. And it is also known in society that people who work constant nights are light deprived and depraved. Deprived, they live shorter lives. If you do constant nights as a worker, not good for you. Might be better money, but you'll die quicker. And that's provable. There was a study done with Michelin, the tyre company, where they used to have constant workers doing constant nights because their money was so much better. And they did a survey on those people who preferred to work constant nights compared to those who didn't want to do nights. And that often the death rate was higher in those doing nights. I would say natural death rate, but induced by lack of light, I think. Artificial light is not very good for us. Fluorescent lights, tungsten lights, at all. It gives us no healthcare benefits. Okay, so it is a life force, and we are light beings. You know, you cannot believe when you're looking around, providing you can see, that if you close your eyes, it's pitch black. Well, it's not. We can still see colours, even when we've got our eyes closed. We see patterns, you know. But inside our brain, it's completely black, dark, not a peep of light. And the only light that goes into our brain, since our eyes are exactly part and an extension of our brain, yes, they truly are. Look into my eyes, you're looking into my brain. The retina picks up certain wavelengths of light, converts them into electrical energy, and that electrical energy is transmitted to our brain for interpretation, and we see it in different wavelengths. Okay. So we know green, blue, red, yellow, whatever. We can, because it's the stimulation, the electrical impulse created by red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet on our retinas. We know blue when we see it, unless you're colourblind. And it is up to the cones in our eye that decide on the type of colour that we see. Your blue might be a little bit different to my blue, who knows? It's very subjective. But how does light benefit the human body at a cellular level? This is what we're going to talk about. If I cut myself, immediately there's a cascade of events that happen. The body goes into defense mode because it wants to mind the gap. You have to close the gap, which is the cut, because bacteria can get in and cause us damage. So the whole team is alerted. You don't have to do it, your subconscious does it, and it happens so quickly. You have a blood clotting system that kicks in immediately, apart from the ow, that bloody hurt. You have a team of blood, and that blood consists of many, many things called factors, ingredient. And there are extrinsic factors and intrinsic factors. The intrinsic factors are responsible for dealing in things under the skin and around the skin, and the extrinsic ones are doing over the skin, and they form the scab. So there's two teams at work. Okay. And the external side of a scab, a blood clot forms, doesn't it? If it's even if you have stitches, a blood clot will form. You'll get a scab, and then you'll get a scar tissue. And light will actually speed up the healing process, quite frankly. And sometimes it doesn't heal quick enough for my liking, nor yours. Any bodily damage, very often, certainly in the elderly or those with an immune deficiency, they cannot heal properly, they have a blood disease or something, they have problems healing as well. A minor twinge or a pull of a tendon that you've done during a sports injury, for fit, healthy people, providing they rest and don't do it again anytime soon, it should heal reasonably quickly. But as we get older, we tend to slow down. Our healing processes slow down. Everything slows down, including us. And the same with our healing processes. Wouldn't it be nice, as they say, to be able to speed up that healing process? Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, baby. Well, that's what lasers do. So this is all about photobiomodulation, PBM, or low-level light therapy, LLT. So they are lasers, and everybody goes, oh, get thee behind me, Satan, it's a laser, because we perceive lasers as being very dangerous, which they are in the wrong hands. Okay, but the lasers I'm going to show you, one is a home care one, use it yourself, and the other one is a more powerful laser used commercially by doctors, chiropractors, physiotherapists, osteopaths, laser therapy consultants, pet therapists upon your pet, and vets, of course. So you've got quite a plethora of specialties that use photobiomodulation upon their patients. And now they are available to the general public. Aren't they just? In a safer form. The only difference being in the two lasers that I'm going to show you is the strength. But make no bones about it, they both do the same job. One just does it a little bit quicker, more expeditiously. That's the only difference. Because the home care one is less violent and more forgiving, and the professional one needs somebody who knows how to use it properly, with due respect. But equally, they are both dangerous in the wrong, untrained hands. So even though people do buy them for home use, they at least do an online video training course. They can teach themselves about how to use it properly and safely, just as the professionals out there get trained to do as well. But how is it? How do we heal? How does the body heal itself? Well, it's a chemical reaction. We are a bag of chemicals, us humans. I'm surprised we don't squidge about. Well, many of us do. But it's all at a cellular level. I don't want to get too bogged down in biochemistry. But the most important ingredient for us in healing is oxygen. Isn't it always the same, this little monkey called oxygen? Such an essential little thing. We'll all be dead without it, you know. So yes, O2, oxygen. And we know in our body that oxygen is supplied by the hemoglobin, the red blood cells, or erythrocytes, another posh name, that cart around like a little truck oxygen molecules that we breathe in. And as these little trucks, the red blood cells, travel around our body, they're dumping off their oxygen as they go around our circulatory system. And just occasionally they come to an area of our body that's been damaged. Okay, bruised, inflamed, you name it, or it's been cut and it's looking to repair. As the little red blood cell passes the damage like looking at a train crash, it dumps off oxygen. There you go, have some of that. And what happens is then that it will take away the garbage also in the form of carbon dioxide, because yin yang, where you give oxygen, you take away carbon dioxide while you're here, if you don't mind, and cart it off to the lungs so we can recharge that little red blood cell with more oxygen, and then we breathe out as a waste product our carbon dioxide. It's such a quick process. You don't even know you're doing it. Try holding your breath for a while and see if you know you're doing it or not. Because the body craves oxygen, man. So this is the role of the red blood cell carting oxygen around, because it's used for all sorts of biological processes, particularly in healing. This is why when you have patients who are extremely ill on life support ventilators, they use oxygen up to probably, a high percentage. Okay, normally we kick around about 21% oxygen, but you can whack it up on a ventilator to improve the oxygen saturation of the blood. You want to really load that little red blood cell with as much heat, as much oxygen as it can take. It can't take any more carbon. The dilithium crystals are going to go. Yes, the little red blood cell is struggling to cart it around, but it does, magically. And so oxygen is essential for healing. But what happens to this oxygen? How does the body turn that oxygen into healing? Well, it's what they call the cascade of events, really. It's like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Chapter 1 is that the area that is damaged sends out signals to attract more red blood cells to it, and that's the inflammation process, of course. And more red blood cells floating around, you see, paying attention like an ambulance crew, dumping off their oxygen. And that oxygen then is utilised in the DNA surrounding the damage, the DNA of the damaged cells. And there's a chemical process that happens when it's a little bit like putting squeezy in a running bowl of water. Suddenly you put the squeezy in and bubbles happen. And that's what happens at a cellular level when oxygen is dumped off at the scene of damage. There's a complete little chemical process going on, very, very busy, because it wants to heal. So we get inflammation always associated with damage, whether you see it or feel it or not, internally or externally. If I scratch you on the face, you'll get a line, and that's inflammation. And believe it or not, the body starts to repair it instantly by calling in the armory, or the red blood cells, the paramedics, if you like. It'll all come clear in a moment, folks, don't worry. So there we are, we've got a damage then, and we've got the red blood cells dumping off their oxygen, plodding on their way, and they're in no particular rush, they're just passing, they just dump it off. But what if you could speed the whole thing up? I don't mean make your heart beat faster, I mean make the red blood cells give up the oxygen more generously and in a more efficient manner. Well, that's what set wavelengths of light can do. They can bully the red blood cell into dumping off as much oxygen as wringing the bejesus out of it to get the oxygen off it. Okay, and send it back with an empty cart or a barrel full of CO2, carbon dioxide. But they've ditched all their available oxygen at the point of damage. Now that oxygen then is added energy for the body to use, and the healing process can happen quicker. So what lasers do, in essence, is they speed up the healing process by increasing the local oxygen available. And they do that by stimulating the red blood cells to give up their oxygen more efficiently and faster. That's it. Science. That's it. I won't bore you with the details of the chemistry that happens at a DNA level and within the DNA and the ribonucleic acid and the cytochrome C and the copper. And nah, let's not go there. But we haven't got time. But in essence, all laser light will do is speed up the dumping off of oxygen at the point of damage. That's it. It doesn't get any simpler. This is why, by default, we'll feel better under the sun if we've got the slightest malady. Because the sunlight, scattered that it is, isn't specialised. It's a man for all seasons. It will get some more oxygen coming into your body because in sunlight you feel bloody marvellous. Everything grows better. Plants flourish, don't they, in the sunlight? Oh, everything's wonderful. And so do you. So, when we're in pain, Very often we have inflammation. We're unhappy. Notwithstanding the infections that may be present, but we're in pain for many ways. Perhaps we bang or damage our elbow joint, or we get inflammation in our cartilages, or our bones start to stiffen up. We have sports injuries, big time, tendons and ligaments. People get arthritis, inflammation of the joints. It's all inflammation. We live in an inflammation, not information world, an inflammation world, because of the shit food we eat, the processed garbage. Yeah, the wrong types of food. We don't feed this engine properly, so it's misfiring in many areas. And a lot of the food causes us pain, quite frankly, in one way. It'll get you, my friend, in the end, one way or the other, won't it? So how does having a laser help you? And why do pharmaceutical companies hate them and call it voodoo science? Because all they're doing is sticking a plaster on a boil. I'm not interested in pain relief in that respect, folks. If you get rid of the damage and the inflammation, you will get rid of the pain anyway. So who needs their bloody painkillers and their anti-inflammatories? Because light is the most natural anti-inflammatory you can get. And it's free. But not everybody can afford to sit there sunbathing, because in the Western society we have very little sunlight compared to the rest of the med. You know, we need all the help we can get. We don't all walk around naked, do we? And there are parts of our body that need healing I'd rather not everybody look at, quite frankly. It's a bit embarrassing, you know. But how do I deliver this light? And how do I know I'm getting the right wavelength at the right place at the right time with the right power and all this sort of thing? Well, all the hard work's been done. This, my dear friends, it's not an Ann Summers power tool, girls. Don't get too excited. I thought I'd throw that in. Okay. Ah, Watson, come in, my dear friend. I feel like Winston Churchill. No, it's not a sex tool. Yes, I know. What you see here, folks, is it is the smallest therapy laser in the world. Okay. It comprises of two things. Well, you see, battery and the laser. Look at that. Can you see? That's it, folks. And that on the end is a lens. We put the battery onto our laser. Okay? If I can get my glasses on, I really should. If I turn it on, can you hear that? Yeah, and it's telling me it's ready. Now look, can you see that little dot? You can see that dot only because it's in your wavelength. This is not a treatment dot, it's an aiming beam. Okay, it looks like it's red. In my hand it looks red, on the video it looks just off pink and white. Okay, that is pointing where the laser, the curative wavelength of laser that is not in my spectrum. I can't see the light that is doing the business. I can see an aiming beam that just tells me where the light is penetrating into. Okay, so if I had a bad knuckle here, what I would do is I would put this aiming beam on my knuckle and I would just simply share the light, which is going in about 1.5 centimeters into my knuckle. Okay, and the beeper is a timer. What I'm doing is I'm exposing my knuckle, every area of my knuckle, going right through the joint, penetrative. It's not encumbered by what's inside, it goes straight through at a set depth and a set wavelength. And at the time, any blood flowing in around my knuckle, if it was damaged, okay, it would dump off the oxygen, make the blood that's going around my knuckle dump its oxygen off, and speed up the healing process, my knuckle will benefit by faster healing. And then the timer will go off. Can you hear the beeper? And this is the home therapy laser. So if I did have bad arthritis in my finger joint, I could spend time either doing the painful joint or doing them all as a preventative measure, knowing that I'm going to be playing the piano tomorrow and I need all my knuckles. Okay? So you can see there. The one thing you don't do with these, home care or professional folks, is ever, ever, ever shine them into your eyes. So they are supplied with laser safety goggles. Hey man, feel like Roy Orbison. I'm just missing the pretty woman. Now even if I shine them into my face, these block the wavelength specific of this laser. So if this laser is 600 nanometers, these block 600 nanometers because the laser and the goggles are matched. It's a safety thing. So that's that. And I turn it off at the end of the treatment. It times off. And that is a home care laser. And this is the future. Every house should have one. And every person running a household, the matriarch, if you like, the mum or the dad, should be trained how to use these, and they can get that training via the internet. Okay? And these are hot off the press, available on the world today. And yours truly is in charge of the UK. Okay? And they are called energy lasers. Energy because oxygen produces energy which helps expedite the healing process. Energy, that's the way it came about. Okay, and they are made in Denmark, I'm proud to say. So that is the low-powered, pretty safe for the general public sort of thing. But make no bones about this. You shine this into your eyes, you're blind, or you'll do yourself serious damage. So you do have to be a responsible adult, and I'll show you why. Even if this is a relatively low-powered for the domestic market, you see this? If I shine this laser on my skin now, it's not burning me because I'm a white honky. But if I was a black man, I wouldn't be so cavalier. If I show you it on black paper, it will actually, you can't see it, but it's actually smoking. Okay? Does actually burn. I can smell it burning. So you have to be careful, because obviously whiter things or less black things are more reflective and are not so fast to react to the laser light. Okay, because light is energy. But black people or those people with tattoos, special care should be used and taken by them if they're going to self-treat, because they absorb the laser light far quicker than us white honkies. It's the same for people with any dark skin colour or tattoos. And you certainly don't go over clothing. It must be done over bare skin. And if you've got a lot of hair, you either do it between the hair, under the hair, or you make a shave. And that's what they do for the animals. They do it under the hair, but within the hair. Okay, because it'll shine through the hair. So that's that, but a couple of contraindications about lasers. One is, this is the thyroid gland here on me, down here. We've all got one. And our thyroid gland is very sensitive to laser light, because overstimulation of light on the thyroid gland can cause overproduction of a chemical, thyroxine it's called, and that can be quite poisonous if we have it too much, because our body releases it at a set rate, our thyroid glands here. So do not laser over thyroid glands directly. Go around them. If you have a problem with a sore gland in your neck, you can always go on your neck like that, no problem. But never over your thyroid. can you do this over a baby? I wouldn't recommend you go over it if you're pregnant, because the laser light can cause such a light to be seen and shone into your fetus's new baby's eyes whilst they're the developments, but you really don't want to go over, if you're pregnant, your baby with a laser. It's not a good idea. I wouldn't do it. Okay? What else can't you do? Can I go over my metal implant? Absolutely you can. You can't do that with ultrasound because the implant will get hot. But all the metal implants do when you're using lasers is reflect the energy laser around. Doesn't hurt them. So they're okay over implants. Or if I've got, an implant here on my bone from a motorbike accident, I can go over that no problem at all. What specifically though, the other things is that how can I get deeper? Because this isn't doing it. What I need to do is go more professional. You probably go to a physio, chiro, osteo and a doctor that's using these for the ones that penetrate that little bit deeper, up to about 4 to 6 inches. This one will penetrate down to about 2 inches maximum. But it's good enough for the general public, with due respect in it. Remember, the other thing is you don't use these where there is a mirror in the room, because it's Sod's law, isn't it? You shine it around, they talk about it, it hits the mirror, you look and the mirror's reflected straight back into your eye, because light is infinite speed and you can reflect it straight back into your eye via a mirror if you're not careful. So close the curtains, hide your mirror if you're going to use it at home, and be safety conscious. Number one priority. And tell everybody not to come in your bedroom if you treat yourself in your bedroom. Do not have visitors in your room while you're using a laser, and make sure you wear the appropriate goggles for the appropriate laser. Okay. So safe over implants. Do not put it over a pacemaker, because certain pacemakers react quite differently, and you'd have to know the type of pacemaker you have inserted. Okay, so not over a pacemaker. Okay over joint replacements like your hips and your knees, that's fine, but not over a pacemaker, not over a fetus, not over a tattoo at all, because you'll burn yourself. So be eminently safety conscious. So that is the home care one. And at the end of it, you can get a battery charger, stick it on there, charge it via USB, and you can treat yourself. The battery will give you due warning that it will run out, but probably enough for 4 treatments per charge. And that's it. Smallest laser in the world, folks. Isn't it amazing? Round of applause there. Okay, thank you. So that's that. Now the bigger offering is the professional version. Yes, size matters, but with size comes depth of penetration, and this one's got a bigger, better wavelength. Okay, can you see? Doesn't it look the business? It's the big brother has come to the rescue. Okay, the difference between this one and the other one, it is more powerful. More power gives you better performance and depth penetration. Yes. But this one, if I turn it on, it's searching for a Bluetooth, which is an Android phone. So you can adjust the power settings on this to suit you. So you can go deep or shallow, less power, more power. The wavelength of this particular laser, he says, with his glasses off. Okay. I'll try to read it now. There we are. This is the L500 Pro, and you can change the wavelength by your mobile phone, which I haven't brought with me for this video, unfortunately, but it's an Android app and you get it, it's free. So you sit there with your mobile phone, you punch it in, and then it's talking to the laser, and then you can treat yourself. But it's actually waiting. You see, it hasn't turned on until I tell it to turn on with my phone. But it's the same, it's just a big brother, but that is only available to physios, osteos, chiropractors, doctors, yada yada yada. You have to be certified to use these because you can do a lot of damage in the wrong hands. Okay, so the Ferrari of lasers. So that is in essence all I had to show you about the lasers, and tell you that this is the future. You will rapidly become, you won't be convinced that they work until you've tried one yourself. As we grow older, you can see these little scabs on my hand, okay? And that was, well, messing around in a bush, actually. The bush scratched me. And as I grow older, they would, as a child, a youngster, they would heal in a few days, couple of days. But they can be around for a week or two now. And it would take an age. And there's nothing really too horrible. It's only because I'm getting on a bit, being 57. But I'm sick of it. I can speed that up, the healing process, just by shining a laser light on it. I don't have to take drugs. I don't have to pay. I'll be out of pain soon enough. They won't be so irritating because they'll be gone. But here's the deal. Some people suffer terribly from scar tissue. They had operations, they had an unsightly scar, and it's so tight, so painful because of what they call it adhesions, either under the skin or the actual scar tissue becomes quite nasty and it tightens up. And these are called keloid scars. They're very painful, and even though you've got a scar, they can be bloody sensitive as well, very hypersensitive. Keloid scars. And laser therapy on those is fantastic, and you won't believe this, but it's true, you know. Laser therapy is fantastic therapy for patients suffering major burn injuries. You cover them in grafts, skin grafts, and you would have thought the last thing they want is a bloody laser on them. It doesn't. Lasers not like that. It doesn't work like that. It's gentle light. And it's penetrating the graft skin, getting under the graft skin. The patient doesn't have to be touched because they're hypersensitive. Don't touch. Okay? You can shine through the graft into the deeper vascular tissue and improve the blood supply to speed up the graft process, and they've had fantastic results at patients who have grafts that aren't really getting that well, they're not taking that well, but if they shine a set frequency of laser light on them on a regular basis, on a daily basis, they are healing beautifully, and they're making the graft take far better than it would if it was left to its own devices of having dressings over it. And see what it's like today, shall we, as the doctor peels off the dressing. Oh, it still hasn't taken, we'll put the dressing back. No, it needs oxygen, and they put a bloody cover over it, don't they? No, just put laser light over it, dear. Okay, and leave it. The only reason they cover it is to stop the bugs hitting it. That's all. So I could go on all night about the laser benefits, but I hope I've whet your appetite. The good news is it's been available to vets for a long time, and now vet therapists and vets are actually using laser therapy because it's drug-free, but unfortunately vets are heavily financed by the sales of their lotions and potions and pills, aren't they? Which are mostly human pills, dilute. The veterinary world are very protective over their pharmaceutical income, and they feel threatened by therapy from a laser that will not require them writing a prescription for your pet or selling you a drug. But there are many enlightened vets now that are turning to laser therapy because animals don't even know the laser therapy is being applied to them because it's painless. So they stand on the consultation table and just look around without growling and scratching. Okay? And people can train themselves to treat their own pets online. There's nothing illegal about you treating your own pet. You'll get done treating other people's pet, but you can treat your own pet. Litigation starts when you start promoting yourself to treat other people's pets if you're not trained to do so in the veterinary world, or you're a trained pet therapist. And there are many who are using lasers very effectively and successfully. Horses benefit a great deal from laser therapy, photobiomodulation, the posh word, PBM. You can name drop that now, can't you? Oh yes, I don't use drugs, I PBM medicine me. It's not medicine, it's therapy. It has been shown that fibromyalgia now, one of the big new diseases, is fantastically treated, successfully treated by photobiomodulation applied. Acupuncture now. I can buy an acupuncture tip which slots on here that turns it into a little finger. I got the laser beam coming out a bent little finger, if you like, and I can find the acupuncture points and expose my acupuncture points on my body or my wife's child's body and do acupuncture using a laser, because all you're doing, even with an acupuncture needle, is you whack it in, don't you? The needle goes straight in you. Oh, that was a bit sharp. And they stimulate down to the nerve, the trigger points, the nerve junctions. They're stimulating, and that stimulation creates an irritation. That irritation attracts the blood because it gets sent to investigate why the irritation, and it dumps its oxygen off to, because you're traumatizing with this pin. You're increasing the blood flow to the trigger point. And the trigger point is supposed to repair. But you can stimulate without the needle now, because you can, and equally, you can heal if you have a tooth out and your socket is still bleeding and it's still a bit touchy and sore. You can do inside your mouth and treat your tooth socket that is giving you jip and isn't healing. Remember, it does not kill tooth decay. Okay? It does not kill bacteria. Not these wavelengths. But it will hit the gum tissue. If you scratch your gum by being too tough with your toothpaste, your toothbrush, you can just shine the laser light on your gum. Get that blood supply going. Call in the oxygen gang and let them do their business a lot faster than you will heal naturally. Laser-induced healing. That's what it's all about, folks. It is the future. Drug-free. So I hope you've enjoyed this session. I'm try to answer any questions you want to put underneath. Okay. And it is the future. And so it should be. It's about time we grew out of poisoning ourselves with drugs and pharmaceuticals and potions and lotions and go au natural, because we've woken up and smelt the coffee we have. We're just waiting for the others to catch up. And they're slowly but surely swallowing their pride and saying maybe they were wrong all along and Mother Nature knows best. It's been around for an awfully long time. Take care of yourselves, okay? And do some reading about photobiomodulation. You'll be the talk of the town. And then get yourself a laser. Price-wise, they vary. But don't go running onto eBay and Amazon, because you'll only get red LED ones. And they're okay for the skin, by the way, the LED ones. But they're not going to go under the skin. It's only lasers that get under the skin, not light-emitting diode lasers. They're not lasers. LEDs are not lasers. You only want a laser. And that's a little bit like that drink Guinness. It gets to the part that others don't get to, does laser light. It's the same as laser light as sunlight. And if it's good enough for the sun, it's good enough for us. Catch you tomorrow, God willing. If he, she, it is listening, you take care. Sleep well. Dib dib.